Hey everyone, it's Valerie Williams coming with tonight's training, as Terry has mentioned. And tonight I want to discuss three optimizations in business wellness and how it is really all about communication. So let's dive right on in. Did you know that you're a brainiac? As entrepreneurs, we focus a lot on mindset and mind matters, but we often don't realize that we have a total of three brains. Yes, you heard me correctly. We have a total of three brains. So, as a result of failing to realize these two additional brains, we lack that knowledge and those additional brains are neglected. So, what are these three brains? They're the gut, of course, our brain that we all know, but also our heart. So, as I mentioned, because we're not aware of these two additional areas of our body that are considered brains and how they work in conjunction with one another, we lack that knowledge and the understanding of how to keep our three brains in alignment, communicating with one another at peak performance, and simply maximum optimization. It really does begin with you. It really does begin with me. Everything starts and begins with us, begins with you. We have heard some of the sayings about the mind. There's so much content now about the mind. There's even one author that I'm aware of by the name of Joyce Myers who has a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. But, we've heard the phrases out there, if you can win the battle in your mind, you can win anything in life. We've heard about trust your gut or go with your gut or my heart's not in the right place or you're breaking my heart or my heart simply just isn't in it. But what about our gut and our heart in conjunction with our mind? Now, is your body talking to you? We heard Lori come a couple of weeks ago and talk about, what to say to yourself, but what is your body saying to you? What is your body talking to you about? If you're not feeling well or at your best in any area of your body, then your business can be impacted as well as the rest of the areas of your life. No one can take better care of you than you. Think about how many times your body has been trying to speak to you and has said, I don't feel like myself, or maybe I just don't feel right. Or maybe your body has to yell at you and tell you, you need to slow down, or you need to simply stop. These are all signs and signals that we really have to pay attention to and not when it's just too late. Anxiety, stress, and depression are at an all-time high, not just in the US alone, but in the entire world, especially with COVID. It's slowed down now, but now it's picking up in some key areas. Even the World Health Organization has determined these categories of anxiety, stress, and depression as the leading cause of health burden around the entire world. These high stress levels lead to high ranges of additional problems. And everything from feeling this depression, the anxiety, even brain fog, burnout, are all those ways of feeling not just quite right. Psychology today stated stress has direct effects on mood, irritability, sleep disruption, cognitive changes, such as impaired concentration. So there's no longer the definition as the brain problem, as the brain housing our minds, will, and emotions. It's now defined as a mind gut problem. So to get a handle on these issues and feel better, the gut and the brain and the access in between has to be looked at. I'm going to say that again. To get a handle on these issues and to feel better, the gut and the brain and the access in between the two of them have to be looked at. So, what happens is this creates a fundamental shift in how we're looking at feeling better. And the solution is to rebalance that whole gut brain axis, which we are going to discuss later on in this training. But for now, let's take a look at one of our brains, the gut. Increased good bacteria into the gut is a targeted way to lead to meaningful improvements to mental wellness. And one source is natural supplements, which is a very holistic approach. Our three brains, the gut, which is our sensing brain, our mind, thinking brain, and our heart, which we call the feeling brain, determine our emotions and are the most powerful tools in optimizing our overall mental wellness. Think of your gut as the intuition and the instinct resource. The head is the logical and the analytical source. And finally, that heart as the emotional, passionate, artistic approach to our well being. So, when the three of those are in sync, our three brains, this is going to balance our overall mental wellness. The brain, such a powerful and such a wonderful thing. If we have a brain injury, just think about how that impacts the rest of the organs in our body. Our body can't survive without that brain, but the brain is so connected to other major organs of our body. So that brain, the mind, that thinking brain that is logical, it's analytical, it's rational, it's theoretical. The other responsibilities of the brain, it holds our memory, our cognition, our recall, creativity, clarity. The targeting of the brain and focusing on improving mental focus is a key. Improving overall brain activation and using certain nutrients. As we age, the brain will lose its ability to function. Our cognition goes down, our brain performance goes down, but with specific nutrients and ingredients, the speed of our memory recall is like getting back 12 years of brain aging. That's huge. Helping your brain to de-age. It's a fountain of youth in certain respects because of specific nutrients and proprietary blends that can and must be used. A clarity of mental focus. When you're sharper, your brain fog lifts. Your brain can perform at a higher level. The parts of the brain that are associated with the memory and recall, and even with stress resilience, needs to be lit in different ways so that our brain is being fine-tuned and optimized to do exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to be that supercomputer within your head. I've got a gut feeling and it's not good. We've all had this stance or been in this position where we've had our gut was just not up to par. So let's talk a little bit more and shift a bit now and talk about that second brain, which is our gut. It's that sensing brain. It's reactive, visceral, intuitive, instinctual. But what are some other things that we know about our stomach? We all are aware of the three functions of our stomach, to temporarily store food, which passes from the esophagus to the stomach, which is then held 2 hours or longer. It mixes and it breaks down our food by contracting and relaxation of those muscle layers that are in our stomach. And then finally, the digestion of food. But the main function of the stomach is to chemically and mechanically break down food. And it accomplishes this by secreting the stomach acid and the enzymes to digest food and churning the food by the periodic contraction of the stomach muscles. Our gut is so complex and its health has been linked to so many of autoimmune issues, mental health issues, cancers, skin conditions, the autoimmune diseases, mood, so much more. Yeah, at one point, doctors and researchers viewed the gut as a simple system where your food was just passed through nutrients, absorbed, and then waste and then excretion. But now they are knowing that the gut is so much more. When we think about additional stomach disturbances such as bloating, diarrhea, gas, constipation, those changes in weight that are intentional. If you gain or you're losing weight without even trying it, or you may indicate that something is amiss in your gut. For example, if you have an imbalance in your gut, it may impact how you store your fat, regulate blood sugar, and absorb nutrients. If you're constantly feeling fatigued or you don't get enough good quality sleep, you got to look at your gut. For example, most of our serotonin, which helps us to sleep, is a hormone affecting sleep and mood, but it's actually made in our gut. If you're experiencing any type of skin issues like eczema, it could be due to inflammation in your gut caused by food allergies, intolerance to certain foods, or just a lack of poor diet. An unhealthy gut can cause systemic inflammation, which is thought to be the underlying factor, again, in many autoimmune diseases. Now, let's shift a little bit and talk about the communication between our three brains, which is the infamous the axis and what we call the axis. When we define the axis, again, it's the communication network, which is going to house our biochemicals, our cells, our nerves, and together all three brains significantly modulate over all our mental wellness. We've talked about the brain and the gut, which are our first two brains, and the third brain is our heart. But if all of these brains send signals to and from one another, that helps with the whole coordination and coordination of signals. Now, we'll be discussing the heart, our third brain, shortly, but I want to talk more about these coordinated signals because together, all three brains significantly help to modulate our overall mental wellness. And when these signals are coordinated and they're optimized, the signals between all three of our brains, wellness is improved. So the gut-brain axis, let's talk about that communication between our gut and then our brain. So the first axis is between your first brain, which is your head, and the second brain, which is your gut. Now, we established that the axis is a network of communication devices that house our nerves, but they're the nerves or the wires that connect our first brain with our second brain. And there are chemical messengers like hormones, neurotransmitters that are produced in the first brain and are also produced in the second brain. They travel through the bloodstream and then it travels through your systemic circulation so that each organ actually knows what the other organ is actually doing. Now, then we have what we call our cellular communication, which is throughout the whole immune system. So the immune system really needs to be optimized and primed in a particular way so that the guts and the microbiome in the gut knows what's happening in the brain and vice versa. Now, when we're talking about the microbiome in the gut, we're really looking at, the digestion, controlling digestion and the major key factors, benefits of the immune system, and many other aspects of our health. So, an imbalance of unhealthy and healthy microbes in the intestines, they can contribute to what we call the weight gain, the high blood pressure, the disorders, the high cholesterol, and the list goes on. So that multi-communication network really has to be optimized. So further on, as we talk about the gut-brain axis, think about your cell phone. Now, if you only have one bar on your cell phone, you're not going to have good communication. But if you have full bars, 4 or 5 bars, you're going to have quick, direct, immediate communication. So therefore, improving all of that together improves the signal ability of the gut-brain axis so that your nerves are optimized to send those signals, your immune system is optimized to read what's happening throughout your body and to send those signals appropriately. So all our systems need to be optimized such as our hormone, circulatory, as well as our nervous systems. The third brain is the infamous heart, our passionate heart. And as I mentioned, all of these systems have to be optimized. They need to be matched to each other so that that vital communication can be made. And that's exactly what we want. So optimizing the communication and the function between the brain and the gut axis, which is your first and your second brain. But if they cannot communicate optimally between one another, then that is going to contribute to us not feeling at our best. So think about the next time that you're not feeling your best. Think about, okay, what's going on with my three brains? What's off? Where is the communication breakdown between my three brains? When we look at the heart, which we said is so passionate, it's so visionary, it's artistic, it's emotional, it's that feeling brain. Improving the efficiency of the heart, we can improve the efficiency of the mind. It's connecting what we feel with what we know. It's called the heart-brain axis. Now, this is the second axis. It's the phenomenon of your heart sending signals to your brain that determines how your brain is actually going to function. So the heart is the body's third brain, and it contains approximately 40,000 concentrated neurons that can sense, feel, learn, as well as remember. And it sends a variety of signals through the entire body, predominantly to the brain. And as these signals are received by the brain will interpret those signals as a good mood or a bad mood. So high energy or low energy, good mental focus or brain fog. Just like we want to improve the gut-brain axis, we also want to improve that heart-brain axis to again achieve that end goal of improved mental wellness and optimization. We've known this to be true for a long time, but think about some of the vocabulary. We talked about some of the vocabulary earlier on in this training. But remember, we've heard you have such a big heart, or follow your heart, or my heart is totally broken. We have words that describe this brain. Our heart can actually determine what our emotions are. Now, emerging clinical research is showing us that people with heart problems tend to have more mental wellness problems and vice versa. People with mental wellness problems tend to have more heart problems. Now, this can be spinned 180 degrees. Instead of thinking of heart and mental wellness issues, this is switched by using the same principle to optimize the effects of the heart on the brain and the heart. And this means that vigor is going to go up drastically. So clinical research is showing very clearly that if we can improve heart function, cardiac efficiency, mental performance can also be improved in some of these very major significant ways. Now, energy goes up, mood goes up, psychological vigor also improves drastically. That's a combination of physical energy, mental acuity, emotional wellness being all wrapped up in one, called mental fitness. Now, if you can get your heart to work better, you can get your brain to perform better. If you can get your brain to perform better, your entire body functions better. And as the result of the heart being a better organ, you will get mental wellness benefits. Your brain will work better. Your energy level will also even be higher. So the brain performance will lead to better physical performance. In continued clinical studies with athletes, runners, they could achieve the same result on a treadmill at a lower heart rate. So you could run the same speed at your heart rate of 10%, but do it lower, which means that you're able to do the same amount of achievement with a lower level of strain across your entire cardiovascular system. Now, here is just a visual picture of that heart-brain axis. We've discussed this earlier, so I'm not going to, just for the sake of time of this training, I'm not going to repeat it, but just to kind of give you a visual of that whole heart-brain axis. Now, if you can coordinate the signals between the three brains, you can improve your mental wellness as we have seen throughout this training. But gut integrity signaling across your axis, the neurotransmitters in your brain will improve your mental wellness as well. But there's a further balancing effect to the heart. And with the heart now, there can be improvement with other axes, the heart brain axis. And in doing so, your mental wellness can be brought to higher levels, more optimization to get a greater level of mental fitness. Now, the whole goal of this training, and if you don't get anything out of this training today, is that you have three brains your mind, your heart, and your gut. And you want your mind, your gut, and your heart, your three brains, to be in communication with one another. And when they're not, that is going to lead to some wellness issues, physical wellness issues, whether it's, with some of those, anxiety, stress. So anytime your body starts talking to you, start thinking about, okay, what's going on, not just in my brain, my one brain, but my other two brains. Because the goal is for overall optimization in three brains, which means that we want that communication with our three brains. And how do we maximize them? We maximize them through, a holistic approach, for example, with good nutrients and keeping them in balance through some holistic approaches. So the overall optimization is that wellness continuum. Research has even shown that people with heart problems are at a higher risk for developing mental wellness problems and vice versa. And those problems are going to lead to problems. But what if optimization could lead to optimization? What if cardiovascular deficiencies could be improved and in doing so improve mental wellness? What if the improvement could be made to how the heart functions and in doing so improve how the brain functions? Clinical science has shown that this can be done and it can improve our mental fitness and so much more within our mental wellness. Now, this is a quick slide of the gut, heart, brain axis. Again, I'm not going to go into detail because we've discussed that earlier on, but again, to kind of give you more of a visual of that communication between the gut, heart. Now, lastly, and in closing, improving again that whole mental wellness, which is our end goal. And mental wellness, we know, can be improved. Improvement to how your brain drives everything that you're doing across your entire life. So, in review, what the axis has in regards to the three parts of it, it's our brain, gut, heart, the heart brain axis, and the gut mind heart axis, three axes. So if the axes can be brought together, we will be at the cutting edge of what science tells us is the way to improve your mental wellness. And that's done through having the axis between our gut, mind, and our heart. So this is the next level of holistic wellness being taken place to perform maximum enhancement. So this comprehensive nutrition for all three brains brings in the axis of the gut, the mind, and the heart, the communication, the optimization of the gut, the mind, and the heart. That's going to do it for me for tonight's training. Thank you all for listening and for being here. And Terry, again, for giving me this platform. Everyone, have a good night. That's going to do it for me, Valerie Williams of Dimensional Talent Streams. Thank you and good night.